name is Sherrie. My Dharma name is Xiǎnxǐng. I've been a teacher here for a while. How many new people do we have today? Quite a few. Welcome to Maba. I hope you enjoy your first visit and hope you can come back again to visit. And welcome to all our old friends. This year we've been giving talks on bodhisattvas. These are people who take vows to help others be free from suffering and find peace and happiness. So one of my talks, a couple of my talks, I talked about Lotus Sutra. And at the end of the Lotus Sutra, there's a mention of 5 eyes, which I did not get into in my talk, but I thought this would be a good time to talk about them and to explain how they relate to bodhisattvas and Buddhas and practice. So our eyes, of course, are for seeing. Like our other senses, hearing, taste, touch, smell, and our mind, as in Buddhism, mind is considered a sense. These senses help us to understand the world around us. And they are the way by which we develop wisdom. Our senses are the way we have to find out about the world and to develop our own wisdom and understanding, to know things about the world. Now, if we all look at the same scene, you would think we all see the same thing, but we don't necessarily. Many, many, many years ago, when I was, I think, 17 or 18, I went to the 4th of July fair downtown. And this was when it started to become a really big affair. And Elton John was there. He played during the day. Everyone was very excited. 1 million people were there. And during the day, people were all wondering, how are they going to bring him here with such a huge crowd of people? He can't get through the crowd of people. He might be crushed. And some people were saying they were going to bring him in on a helicopter. Other people said he was probably hiding in the arch. Other people thought he's probably going to come in through the steam tunnels. If you're an old resident of St. Louis, you know the steam tunnels are a common point in the midst of the city. But when it was time for him to sing, he just kind of magically appeared on the stage in the middle of the crowd, and he started to perform. I couldn't see very much of him. I could just kind of see the head over the top of the piano. He's kind of short, and we were all on the ground. The stage was raised above us. But after the show, we all decided it's very hot. Let's go home and get cleaned up, and we'll come back to see the fireworks. As we walked away to the edge of the grounds towards our parking garage, there was a policeman walking in front of us. Didn't pay much attention. I just saw him and we continued walking to the garage. And then I stopped because something seemed wrong. But I looked back at him and I realized that's not a policeman. He's dressed like a policeman, but he's not a policeman. First of all, he was too short. St. Louis police have height requirements, or at least they did at that time. He was very out of shape, and he didn't walk like a policeman. Policemen usually walk with some authority and command, you know, stating their place in the world. This guy was just kind of gently walking along and looking at the clouds and swinging his arms. And I thought, well, why would someone dress up as a policeman if they're not like a criminal or something? And I continued to look at him, and I realized, oh my goodness, that's Elton John. And I was 17 or 18, so I started jumping up and down and screaming, it's Elton John, it's Elton John. And my cousin who I was there with and her friends, some of her friends said, it's a policeman, or what are you on? Are you crazy? And I continued jumping up and screaming, and he turned around and looked at us. And I saw Oh, he looks frightened. I'm jumping up and down and screaming, and there are a million people here who came to see him. And we all talked about how are they going to get him here because he could be injured by the crowd. And so I realized he's afraid I'm going to draw the crowd on him. So I stopped. I said, never mind. And we went on to the car, went home, cleaned up. And as we were leaving to come back to see the fireworks, the news was on my uncle's TV in the living room. At the end of the show, Mandy Murphy or someone said, it was a lovely day for the 4th of July festival today. Elton John performed, and he was sneaked onto the ground in a policeman's uniform. And afterward, he spent the day enjoying the grounds. For some reason, he just wanted everybody to know that. And of course, my cousin's boyfriend's like, oh, you're right. And my cousin suggested maybe he wanted to let you know you were right when other people were making fun of you. That might be it. But the point of the story is there were a million people that day. How many of them, on their day on the grounds, noticed the little policeman walking around? Probably not many of them. And my cousin and her friends didn't notice him until I started screaming. It's because we see things, but we don't really see them. We just ignore many things that we see because it doesn't seem to concern us. Now, some of the million people there must have noticed the policeman. But how many of them realized he wasn't really a policeman? Probably a smaller number. And how many of them realized it was actually Elton John? Probably an even smaller number, because you would have to keep looking at him to realize this. And how many of them jumped up and down and screamed? Probably just me. But I have to say, like I said, I was 17 or 18. This is just an example that we see things, but we don't really see them. We don't notice them. We don't realize what they are. We're not paying attention. We're not seeing clearly. We're focused on other things. This is really important because what you see, what you hear, these are the things that help you know the world and know what is going on around you. So this is a really important topic for our practice, and for life in general. Okay, I'll just briefly talk about a couple of terms I will use today. One is jnana, and this means knowing or knowledge. From a language called Sanskrit, which is one of the languages used to preserve Buddhist teachings in India. Next word is prajna or panya. And these you can see are derived from jnana. The jna is combined with the word pra. So this means higher knowledge, higher understanding. And it's usually translated into English as either wisdom or insight. I use the word wisdom today, primarily. There are 3 ways to develop prajna or wisdom. We can learn it by listening to other people teaching us or by reading. We can acquire it by reasoning and reflection, thinking about things for ourselves. And we can also develop it or cultivate it through our own experience, developing insights about what we experience using our senses, including our mind. There are several sutras that discuss the 5 eyes. But for my talk, I focused on the Prajnaparamita sutras. And I've listed a few of them, which you don't really need to know about unless you want to read them. But Prajnaparamita has that word prajna again, which is wisdom. And paramita means basically perfection. So they're about the perfection of the wisdom. And these sutras all talk amongst other things, about the five eyes. So those are the main texts that I used to develop my talk, if you are interested in reading further. Now, the first eye is called the flesh eye or the human eye. And this is our normal way of seeing. First, the way we see with our actual eye. Everyone has a different eye. Some of us have 20/20 eyesight, some of us don't. But we all can learn to use it better, whether or not we have physical limitations. Different kinds of animals have different kinds of eyes. If I look out at a field, I might notice a bird flying above the field because I like to watch birds. If a farmer went out to the same field, he might notice the crops because that's what's important to him. And the falcon that I saw flying over the field might focus upon a little mouse scurrying around in the corn. We all focus upon what we're interested in and don't see the rest of it. But we can learn to see the whole picture. We can develop this with training and with practice. It's possible to do this without becoming a Buddhist or listening to Buddhist teachings. You just be more careful about paying attention. But Buddhism has many teachings about learning to pay attention, learning to be mindful, learning to really see what we are seeing and hear what we are hearing. And not get lost in our own little dream world, but really see what's around us and know what's there. So we can develop this with practice and training. Next is the heavenly eye. Sometimes it's called the divine eye. Again, this is an eye that many of us can develop. This eye looks more closely at things, not just the physical appearance of things, but looks deeper. For instance, scientists can use this eye, developing theories using microscopes, electron microscopes, telescopes. They can use to see further than our natural physical eye can see. And they can use this to understand the world better than we could see with our own bare eye. In our spiritual practice, we can learn to see cause and effect, just as scientists learn to see cause and effect in the natural world. We can also learn to see the cycle of samsara. That's the cycle of birth and death that we all go through. Understand that this happens to everybody. Buddhism has many teachings on developing this through dhyana practices, like meditation and mindfulness, that anyone can work on and develop this eye, so that we will know more about the world and understand further what our senses are telling us about the world. This is not to say that we suddenly grow a heavenly eye. We're just developing our own capacity to understand better. This is a picture of a person called a deva, considered a heavenly being in Asia. And she's making an offering to the Buddha. She has the heavenly eye because of how she was born, but we can all develop this kind of eye, seeing and understanding better. Next kind of eye is called the wisdom eye. In this eye, we develop a deep and subtle understanding of shunyata, or emptiness. This can be developed in various ways, but there are three particular ways that are taught in the Buddhist teachings. And Isai is the one that is more particular to Buddhism. Three ways that we can all use to develop this level of understanding and seeing are all based on analysis. The first one is the analytical method of disintegration. You could also call this deconstruction. This means if I look at myself, I can think, who am I? What is me? Is it this body? Well, what if my body changes? Am I still me? What if I get old? I look different. Am I still me? What if I lose a finger, a hand, an organ? Is that still me? I can see that this body is just made up of parts. It's not really what's me. This body itself is empty of a permanent, lasting, inherent self. I can see it's just made up of a bunch of parts. Just like my computer. We can all look at this and say, oh, that's a laptop. But what part of it is the laptop? Is it the screen? Some of them come now with detachable screens, but might not even have a screen attached to it. Is it the keyboard? I can replace the keyboard or attach a different keyboard to it. Trackpad, that could break. Is it the processor? I could replace that processor with a different processor. So what is the computer? It is not an inherent self. It's made up of lots of different pieces put together. It's constructed. We recognize this, it's easier to not be so attached to our computer. When we think about it almost as a self, we give it a name, we think of it as our special computer, we can become too attached to it, very stressed out about it. We can understand that it's just a sum of parts put together. We can see it more clearly. Same thing with our body. I can recognize that this body is not me. I don't have to be so distressed when it gets older, starts sagging, when I don't look the way I used to. Because I know this wasn't really me anyway. This is just a body. Second analytical method is integration. And this is synthesizing things into groups. For instance, if I think about something like water, is that one thing? It's lots of different things. Right? It can be frozen, it can be solid, it can be in the air as vapor, it can be part of a muscle or bone. So even though I think I can put all these different kinds of H2O into one thing, they're all really very different. They're not exactly the same thing. So this term water is kind of empty of meaning too. I think of a metal, like for instance, iron. You might think, well, all this iron metal, it's all the same thing. This group has an identity, right? This group has a self. Thinking that a group or a class of things could have a self was common in the ancient world, which is why Buddha talked about it in several different sutras. In reality, it's not, because what is iron then? Is it just the molecule iron that can be broken apart or turned into something else? Is it the metal that I can see and hold that can be melted and mixed with other things to make alloys? Even this group of things is not one thing for the self. Group is empty too. The analytical method of penetration is to look deeply into things, to keep taking it apart, but simply to keep looking further and further. An analogy to this is when a scientist uses a microscope, right? You can dial it and keep dialing it further and further in to keep seeing smaller and smaller and smaller things. We can do this in our meditation. I have a pain when I am sitting. I can look into it, keep looking at it. Things will rise up like, oh my gosh, that hurts. How can I sit here? We let all that fall away and just keep looking deeper and deeper into what is hurting. And we can figure out what it is. You can recognize this pain is not this particular thing that is attacking me. The combination of things that have come together at this particular time. Even this is empty. This can help you to deal with pain, because when you think of it as a real thing, a thing that's coming to get you, you tend to turn things into a battle. I'm going to fight my pain today. But that just makes more stress for you. You can recognize it's just this, sum of its parts. Aging back, stress from sitting in the car all day, all these other things that come together to make the pain. It doesn't seem quite so bad, even though it still might hurt. It's not so much of a stress upon you. It can also penetrate into thoughts, into our mind. I'm sitting and just trying to watch my breath. And I keep getting distracted by things rising up. I can keep letting go of those things. Don't get distracted by them. And just keep looking at the breath. Penetrate it further. Not so much on the surface. See the breath rising in the body, staying a moment, leaving the body. You may even have some insight arise when you do this. You may recognize breath is just air entering this body, becoming part of this body, and leaving this body. This penetration can help us see emptiness once again. The breath is just changing conditions in our body, and our body itself is constantly changing. Breath coming in, being part of it, breath leaving it. It was the air of the body. It's only in here for a little while, and then it goes back into the atmosphere. Somebody else might breathe it in. A bird outside the window might breathe it in. So these three methods of looking and analyzing things can help us to understand the world better and ourselves better. For someone who wants to be a bodhisattva, who wants to become a Buddha, this is very important, because we have to understand this emptiness. Understanding emptiness of things helps us to overcome attachment, and it also helps us to overcome despair when things do fall apart. When we know that it was never possessed of a real self, it was impermanent all along, it's easier to let go of our attachment. And when we're not attached to a thing, it's easier to lose it. If someone hits my car in the parking lot and I think of it as my baby, I'm going to be pretty upset about the scratch on my car. If someone hits my car and damages it, and I can recognize it's falling apart anyway all the time, it was never going to last forever, I can deal with it better, not get angry, and go about my day. So working towards developing this Dharma eye can be useful for anybody. And vital to someone who wants to become a bodhisattva. The next eye is the Dharma eye. It's very important for bodhisattvas. When a person attains this eye, this way of being able to see things, by being able to hold the view of the relative physical world and the view of shunyata at the same time. One of the issues with the last eye was that sometimes when people develop an understanding or start to develop an understanding of emptiness, they can get attached to it. And we see this fairly often at Mabha, someone who's been studying emptiness. You can tell because whenever somebody says something, the person will say, oh, that's just emptiness. Anything anybody says, that's emptiness. You don't want to go to an extreme with this because we have to remember that while ultimately everything has emptiness, all of us also live in a physical world where we are interacting with each other and interacting with the world. So it's good for me to remember that, my car is just a car and it's going to fall apart. If I hit someone else's car, I can't tell them, don't worry, man, it's empty anyway. I'm not going to be happy with that probably. You have to be able to recognize other people's feelings, their suffering, and how they are seeing things. This ability to combine both of them awakens deep compassion in anyone who develops it. When someone directly experiences both these views at the same time, you immediately have compassion and feel kindness to everyone else because you know what they are going through. You've been through it too in the past. So you can feel everyone else's suffering without becoming attached to things and getting upset yourself about them. This again helps you to avoid despair. You can keep working, keep helping people because you do not have the attachment that leads to despair, to anger, to fear. This love and compassion that is developed is non-discriminating. Since Bodhisattva is not attached to anything, he doesn't favor one person over another. But they can see everyone equally. Bodhisattva looks at the field. He's not going to discriminate between the bird, the farmer, or me. Someone who has attained this eye can investigate Buddhist teachings more thoroughly and more deeply. And since they can see both these views at the same time, they can see every individual clearly. They can see causes and conditions we are all under. This means that someone who has attained the Dharma eye is able to teach everyone in a way that they need to be taught. If you can't do this, it's difficult to teach people, because how do I know who needs to hear about emptiness and who needs to just hear about mindfulness and meditation? Someone who has the Dharma eye has no trouble telling. It's easy for them to see. Fifth eye is the Buddha eye. This is the eye, or the way of seeing and understanding. It comes with full awakening. You've fully developed all the eyes, all the ways of seeing, and can do them all at the same time. This means they are not limited by anything. They include everyone, they have compassion for everyone. And because of this, they develop the kind of knowledge, or jnana, which is perfect. You can all develop the kind of knowledge about the world that we all need every day. You can learn to, repair your car, you can learn to drive, you can learn to cook, you can learn about literature, you can learn about how to use your computer, you can learn how to use Excel tables, be the Excel specialist for the office. But there's this knowledge beyond that, knowing what everyone is going through, knowing how to help everyone the way they need to be helped. And you can develop that if you develop all the eyes. So a Buddha has developed all of them and attained the Buddha eye. So how do we relate this to the Bodhisattva path? I tried to do this during my talk, but we can begin, and anybody can do this, by simply using our physical eye better. Just pay attention to things when you see them, and it will help you in your life. If you keep working on this, you can develop the heavenly eye, especially if you keep using mindfulness and meditation. Seeing things more clearly and completely will help you to understand things better and develop more wisdom. Anybody can also use analysis to develop wisdom, although it's much easier to do this and you can go much more deeply, especially with penetration, if you improve your dhyana practice. Yeah, the higher meditative states, the jhanas, are especially useful for this. You don't have to be a highly developed bodhisattva. You can work towards the Dharma eye already by developing the qualities of the Brahmaviharas. And try to reduce attachment and discrimination to begin to increase your equanimity. You can develop loving kindness and compassion for others. You can generally work on reducing attachment, aversion, and ignorance by learning and practicing. As they said, the fully awakened Buddha has not only perfect wisdom, but he has also perfected knowledge, or jnana. So wisdom is more understanding, and knowledge is knowing. And we can develop both with the use of our senses. It can be especially difficult to do this when we're seeing a lot of suffering in the world, like we may be seeing now if you're paying attention. So one thing we can do in our practice is share what we have with others. So for instance, according to the teachings, y'all did something good by coming here today, listening to my talk, listening to Mr. Jiru talking earlier. So we can share whatever good comes of what we do here today with others. Equally with everybody, not favoring anybody. So we can hope. All the merit of any actions we do here today and that we've done before or will do in the future. Help all beings. Through our actions, may all beings know happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings be freed from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all beings know the great joy that is free from suffering. And may all beings dwell in the equanimity that is free from attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Thank you, everyone.